Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds. Well, g'day, curd nerds.
Oh, sorry, wrong camera. Oh, there's Holly. Say hello, Holly. Hello, Holly. Here we are. Sorry. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, curd nerds, to Ask the Cheeseman, where you can ask all your home cheese making questions. Okay, this is episode 101. Thanks for all the people that showed up for the 100th episode last week. And if you didn't, you missed a good giveaway, which has now been drawn. With more details on the giveaway in a second. Okay, just quickly writing show notes. It's crazy chaos around here this morning. Okay, a few shout outs to start with. There's no new YouTube members, but thank you so much to all the YouTube members that are present today and pay financially for early release videos and other little tidbits that I put into the community stream. And the little perks icons. You can see some members here in the chat already. Also, new patron, thank you very much to Osman Tepik. Thank you very much for your patronage. I really appreciate it. Okay, videos coming up. This week's video, surprise, surprise, there's already been some action about it in the chat, is American cheese. So I will be putting out American cheese, and well, I was kind of nudged into making American cheese by Larry from Deep South Texas, who's in the chat. If you've been looking at the chat, you would have seen that Kim said to Larry that he changed her life by introducing me to American cheese, which I have to say in some ways is kind of true, and a little bit more about that later in the show. Also, I did a separate video on how to make sodium citrate, which you use to make those American melty sort of cheeses. First invented by Kraft, the Kraft company, to make those very ordinary cheeses that they make. It was used as an emulsifier, but more about that when you see the video. So I did a separate video on sodium citrate because I don't think I did it justice during the American cheese video. Also, very soon in post-production, there is Stout Cheddar that I made with Guinness. It's a Guinness-soaked curds that I pressed into a cheese. And saffron-infused cheese taste test is coming up as well. So they're all the things that are happening around here. The giveaway, I can see some of the giveaway winners in the chat room. The first prize, if I can remember rightly, hang on, I'll just bring this up in my separate chat box. Sorry about this. And it wants me to log on, and I haven't logged on. Oh, goodness me. Right, winners coming up in a second. As soon as this logs in, right, it was awarded to, first prize was awarded to, and the first prize was, if I can just get there, hang on. Goodness me. So the first prize for the giveaway of the curd harps was, if I can find it, there it is. So those two lovely curd harps was Mark Duffy. Thank you, Mark, for entering the competition. In fact, thanks to everybody who entered the competition. Second prize was Sylvia Carver, and Sylvia won the two books only after it was redrawn, and Jason Olson, who's in the chat, kindly redonated his prize. And third prize was the single book, and that went to Nicola Forrow, and thank you, Nicola. And they'll all be shipped out soon. Let's get back to that. So that'll be shipped out very soon, and in fact today, Kim's got them on her desk, ready to wrap and dispatch to all of your countries. So very cool. And also another thank you goes out to Lisa from Cheese 52. To my surprise, I found a gift in my letterbox. It was, I don't have a picture of it because we've eaten most of it, of butter toffee from, where did she come from? From Boise, Idaho. And this butter toffee was just amazing. Kim and I had never had anything like it. So big thanks to Lisa at the Cheese 52 channel for sending through that lovely gift. Really do appreciate it. Okay. And we have a new member, and it's Jay Biggins. Thank you, Jay, for becoming a member. All right, let's get stuck into the questions and stuff. I'm sure we've got lots of them. And, well, the first person today was Jordan. G'day, Jordan. G'day. Is that 10,000 subs with no videos? That's that's quite unusual, but yeah, that's cool. Oops. I haven't got this set up. My goodness, it's all going on. Okay, Ruth. G'day, Ruth. You're always very early, but thank you for turning up. And thank you for that $10 super chat. So the first question, obviously, is from Ruth. And Ruth said, made my first cheddar and thinking of tackling the marble cheddar. Do you think I am ready? Any suggestion? Thanks, Gavin. Well, it's a big step from cheddaring to doing 2 cheddars at once, but hey, Ruth, I think you're ready for it. If you can make a cheddar and you can go through the cheddaring process, then I can't see why you wouldn't be ready for making 2 cheddars at once and then combining the curds. So yeah, go for it, Ruth. Ruth has also said, shout out for the Mercedes-Benz of curd harps. With my new stainless steel curd harp, I get perfect cubes. Woohoo! Thank you, Steve. And Steve's usually in the chat, but I haven't seen him yet. I haven't got there. Jordan asks, I have animal single and vegetable double strength rennet from New England Cheesemaking Company. How do I use these with your recipe? It doesn't say the IMCU. Should I follow the bottle directions? Yeah, definitely. When in doubt, use the bottle directions. In fact, when in doubt for all my recipes, including the cultures, different companies have different dosage strengths of starter culture. So always follow the instructions for how many litres of milk it says, or gallons, or what have you. But definitely, yeah, the single strength animal should be fine for my recipes, Jordan. The double strength, you would halve it. Okay. Jordan also says, I built a cheese press based on pictures from when you shared all the pics of your listeners' home presses. So far, so good. I'll email you a pic. Well, that'd be great. Thank you very much, Jordan, and congratulations on your cheese press. Very impressed that you pressed. Okay, Adin Rose said hello to all. G'day, mate. Bart Omen said, g'day. Hope you have a great birthday. Hope you had a great birthday. Yes, I did. I had a really good birthday. I really enjoyed my day. All kicked off with the aftermath of the 100th episode, which was cool. All right, Deep South Texas, Larry. Deep South Texas, sorry, I didn't pronounce that correctly. Larry is there, and Kim's basically said that Larry has changed her life. And you'll see why Larry has changed Kim's life. This Friday, my time, Thursday, US time, when I release this week's video, the American cheese. Kim's always been a fan of processed cheese, me not so much. But I did make quite an outstanding cheese from remnants of other cheeses. Okay. Dinner Rose said, I can't wait to make processed cheese from my leftover cheeses. Indeed, it's a great way of making leftovers. A fresh cheese from cheese that doesn't even melt, and then it does. It's just amazing. I think it's great. Larry, you could call me a convert, mate. This sad old cheesemaker is converted to the ways of semi-processed cheese. So, yeah, very cool. Okay, where I'm up to. Mitchie Hines, hello, Gavin. With your recipes, I made some cheese myself. Some have developed differently than expected. Is there a point where a cheese becomes inedible or even worse, dangerous to your health? Yeah, there is. There's a couple of things. If the cheese it gets black mold on it, then you've got to try and wash that off as best you can, and keep it clean from black mold. Black mold produces a toxin that's not healthy to humans. Most of the other molds are fair game. Usually people scrape them off before they eat the cheese, of course, if you're making a natural rind. But if worse comes to worse, then make sure that you wax or vacuum pack the cheese, and then you won't have any issues. If it's a hard or semi-hard, you obviously won't be able to do that with bloomy cheeses or blue mold cheeses, but the rest, yeah, you just vacuum pack the things. Chad says, when will you attempt to make Kasseri Marzu? Never. The answer to that is I try and keep the maggots off my cheese, not try to introduce them. Matthew says, Gavin, I noticed a lot of softer cheese molds that don't seem to have followers. Do they just work on gravity? Yeah, indeed, Matthew. They all do work through gravity. Usually they're small and fairly dainty, and they're just for fresh curds, and things like blues and mold ripened, washed-rind curds are cheeses as well. They all work on gravity. You have to flip the cheese in the mold to get it to form its shape. Kim stated, and thank you, Kim, for moderating, of course, the American cheese Gavin made is wonderful, and for the first time, a melted cheese toastie does not need anything added for flavour. Well, that is true. It was very good. A great way for Gavin to use all these extra pieces of cheese. And Paris Finn says, does he have a video on American cheese? It will be released this week. So watch for that. And it has a visit from Larry. And in fact, Larry has actually made his version of American cheese, which I'm going to share with you. Both videos are going to go up at exactly the same time. And there'll be links to each video cross-pollinated. And if you like what Larry did, just pop over and subscribe to his channel so you can get more of his videos. Paul says, I cut my boxed farmhouse cheddar blue after 10 weeks because of a slight ammonia odor. The cheese was The cheese was great, and I vac packed the rest to continue aging. What does the ammonia indicate? Is it safe? Yeah, indeed it is. You should go to my smelly cheese fridge. My goodness. I've got 2 blues in there at the moment. I've got the Shropshire blue maturing. I've got the... Oh, goodness me. Hang on. Windows is just going spastic. Right. That does it. Sorry, guys. Technical issues. There we go. All better. Right. My computer's playing up today, but things are happening. All right, so is it safe? Yes, the ammonia smell is always present with blue cheeses, especially if you've got them in like ripening boxes or something like that. They do need oxygen, so that's why you need to turn the cheese every week, obviously, or sometimes even twice a week. Not only to get rid of the ammonia that builds up in the cheese, but in the box, but also to provide it with some oxygen, because the blue mold needs oxygen to multiply, and the ammonia that it gives off as a byproduct of the ripening process builds up, and stifles, so it kind of self-kills itself. A bit like yeast when it's making alcohol. The alcohol level that the yeast has produced, it gets to such a level that it actually kills the yeast. So same thing. That's to keep the blue growing. Then you really need to empty out the ripening box, give it a wipe out, and flip the cheese over. You could have kept the ripening. That ammonia smell is not unusual. It happens all the time. Nicola says hello and g'day, Nicola, and congratulations on winning your prize. Patricia, hello, Patricia. She's a member, as are all the people in the chat room with green writing. Hello, Gavin, Kim, and all you Curdners from sunny Halifax, Nova Scotia. From Canada. Lovely. Thank you. Kim, Larry made her. Kim made Larry's day. Oh, there's all sorts of things going on there. Lark says, hello, Gavin. Greetings from Trinidad. G'day, Lark. I made cacciota about 2 weeks ago, and I've spotted furry mold on it. Assuming I can still save it, what do I do? Yes, you will be able to save it. What you have to do is wipe it down with a simple brine solution, maybe a little bit of vinegar in the simple brine solution, which is basically a cup of water, 2 teaspoons of salt, and half a teaspoon of vinegar. Mix that together, dissolve the salt, wipe the cheese over, and that'll keep the mold at bay for at least a week, and then you'll have to keep doing it because now you've got mold. But that's what happens. Paris Finn says, Mr. Weber, what ingredients go into American cheese? Well, Paris, you're going to have to wait, unfortunately, mate. Sorry about that. It's only a couple of days. In fact, it's 2 days' time, and you'll find out what goes into American cheese. 2 styles. My style was totally different than Larry's, and we both got the same sort of outcome. I dare say Larry's was probably a little bit creamier, but you'll see that. Alex says, hello, Gavin and Kim. Hello, Alex. Thank you very much. E.T. says, hello. Yasmin says, ricotta, please. There are videos on ricotta, and it wouldn't surprise me if Kim's already put the link for ricotta, and she has. Well done. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. Matthew says, I only seem to be able to find vertical curd cutters. Do I just use a knife for the horizontal cuts? So the horizontal cuts are probably the most important. The vertical ones are easy with a knife. If you have a look in the description below in the video, there should be a link. Let me just have a look. Is there a link? There's no link, have you, duffer? A link to Steve Ben's curd harps. If you go to any other video except the live ones, you'll see there is a link in the videos. And there you just click through and you'll be able to pick up a decent curd harp if you're in the US. Alex says, my cheeses are coming out dry and crumbly. What may cause that? Couple of things, Alex. Too much rennet. Ease back on the rennet. You should still get a curd set, even if you have to wait a little longer. Also, you may be stirring too long, or you may be cooking the curds too high a temperature. So there's 3 things to look at to make sure that your curds don't come out dry and crumbly, or cheese doesn't come out dry and crumbly. Annette says, hello, Gavin and Kim and my fellow Curdners. Hello, Annette. And Lewis says hello as well. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. Well, there was no holiday weekend here, Annette. I think it was Memorial Day, in the US. But yes, and being a veteran myself, I would have enjoyed that holiday. But yeah, it's cool. Jay Biggins said, hi, Cheeseman. Thanks for sharing with us. I'm beginning with ricotta, citric acid or vinegar, which is the best? And why would my curds be so tiny I can't strain them? Lol, what a mess. 2 schools of thought on that. Yes, I prefer citric acid because it produces a softer curd, whereas vinegar is a bit harsher and creates a more rubbery ricotta curd. The curds are tiny. You actually have to wait. Once you've got them up to what's about 98 degrees and then add your acid, you've got to wait a fair while for the ricotta all to float up to the top. And then you scoop it off the best you can. Use butter muslin, which is the tight weave cheesecloth. That is the best solution. And it may take up to an hour to drain if the ricotta is very fine. It also depends on the whey that you've used. If you're using whey, just whey, full whey ricotta, Probably best to add about a cup or two of full cream milk to boost that yield, because the strands of whey protein do stick to the milk and to give you a better yield. Also, don't use the whey from anything you've made pasta filata from. Usually it doesn't work because the whey is too acidic. All the other cheeses are fair game. So things like the semi-hard and hard cheeses, you should get a yield. Suzanne says hello from Canada. Hello, Suzanne. Kim says, ask the cheese dog. All right, so we'll just check in on the cheese dog. There she is. She's sleeping now. She's had enough fun. So thanks, Holly. Jack says, g'day, Gav. G'day, Jack. Bruce. G'day, Bruce. Bruce, a patron. And says, g'day. And hi, Gavin and everyone. G'day, Bruce. Lice Dog says, hi, Gav. I unwaxed one of my Havarti and looks a bit pinkish and had some gas development. Do you think it's safe to eat? Yeah, I think so. Sometimes those softer cheeses, when they're waxed, do absorb some of the colour from the wax, and that's harmless because it's food safe. So that's okay. The gas development is okay. If you used aromatic mesophilic culture, it is a gas producer. As long as your cheese doesn't look like a sponge. So if it looks like a sponge, then it's been infected by coliform and it's no good to eat. Throw it away. If it has just eye development and they're fairly random through the cheese, that's fine. That's just normal gas production depending on the culture or the milk that you used. If you used raw milk to make your Havarti, then it's naturally going to have some of those gas-producing lactic bacteria in them. So it would be normal. So just check that out. Make sure it doesn't look like a sponge, and then other than that, it should be fine. Craig, g'day. Craig says, good morning, Gavin and Kim. I made Gorgonzola this week. Do you have any tips to offer? I haven't attempted Gorgonzola myself yet, Craig. So you're one step ahead of the game. Traditionally, Gorgonzola was made from the first milking and the second milking, so morning and afternoon, to get a balanced creaminess to it. It also uses usually a different green mold culture, not Penicillium Penicillium Roque 40. There's a different one that I cannot remember the name of, and it uses a softer strain of blue-green mold. So I'm not sure, Craig, if what is it? Is it Cheese Links? Cheese Links down in Lara might have some of that mold. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at their website for a while. We don't stock it. We only stock three blue molds, mild, strong, and the vegan version by Choose It. Per Ivar says, hi, Gavin. Hello, mate. Aga says, A up, Gavo. G'day, mate. Lewis, hey, Gavin. I noticed my Gruyere is soft in the middle with some water dripping on it during the maturation box. It's about 3 months old and was vac packed about 2 weeks ago. Should I be worried? Yeah, so that really does cause softness. So if you've got condensation on the roof of your ripening box, that's an issue. And I've come across it myself with the moister cheeses. When they start, the moisture starts to evaporate out of them. It sits on the top of the box, and naturally the box has a dip in the middle, and then it drips onto the middle of the cheese. Really does wreck the cheese, and it does create all sorts of pink and red funky molds, and it's no good for anybody. So just make sure a couple of times a week you just wipe the condensation off of the lid, or in fact wipe the condensation out of the ripening box altogether, and stop it from dripping onto the cheese. Because it was 3 months old and you've vac packed, I wouldn't be worried now. It should be okay. It'll still taste like Gruyere if you've followed the recipe, and I assume you have, Lewis. So I think it will be okay. So, yeah, it'll be fine. Big thumbs up. Good on you. Aga says, have you tried anything with the vegan cheese stuff. Not got around to it myself. The veggie kind of paneer thing might work. Aga, I haven't as yet. I sell vegan cheese kits and I haven't even tried it myself. So that's a bit of an issue. So maybe I need to get into that. I don't know how well vegan cheese would go down, but I suppose it's a different style of cheese making. It's just not using milk from animals, so that may be a bit of an issue. But I could give it a go. All right, first super chat of the day. It's from Paul, and Paul doesn't have any. There's no comment with that super chat. Thank you so much for your $5, Paul. Appreciate it. I'll get down there. Let's have a look. Is there a comment? Oh, yes, he has a comment. He says, about your American cheese video, I know people add sodium citrate to cheese to make a creamy cheese sauce for nachos and vegetables. They say it will remain runny even if cool. Why did yours solidify? It's all about the amount of liquid you add to dissolve the sodium citrate and the amount of cheese. There's a ratio, and you'll see in the, not in the American cheese video, but in the sodium citrate video, which I'll release a couple of days after the American cheese, there's a chart that I've got and I put it in the description. I didn't put it in the video because it would have been too texty. And it shows you how to make the different varying states of melty cheese, from solids to craft single style, all the way down to a really runny, drizzly sauce. So it's about the amount of liquid you add, not the amount of. Oh, it does. There's a ratio, so it's you'll see that when it happens, Paul. But yeah, you'll have to wait. Okay, back to where I was before. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Where are we? We're talking about vegan stuff. Altonex, g'day. Hey, Gav, g'day, Altonex. Dale, my cheese never seems to melt. I have made your cheddar 6 months, Monterey Jack and Gouda, and they just won't melt. Sounds like a lot of the fat content of your cheese may be coming out during pressing. This is just a thought. I don't know if this will fix it. Those cheeses, well, at least the cheddar and the Gouda, Monterey Jack sometimes melts, not always when I make it, but definitely the Gouda and the cheddar readily melt for me. When you do the first pressing, make sure that when you apply the weight, that the whey is running as clear as possible. If it starts running really cloudy, then you're pressing the fat out of the cheese, and it's the fat that helps the cheese to melt. So just be careful when you're pressing your cheese. Make sure too much fat doesn't come out during the first pressing, because that means you're putting too much weight on it. So ease off on the weight. That first pressing is just to make the form without losing the fat. So that's what that's for. Esal Man says, thoughts on using a wine chiller as a cheese cave. My thoughts are go for it. They do run very dry, no humidity whatsoever. So if you want to use a wine chiller as a cheese cave, in fact, my first cheese cave was a wine chiller, and it worked perfectly until summertime, and it really then struggled to keep the temperature at what it was set at. It drifting all over the place. Mind you, summertime, our summer, we were experiencing 45 degrees Celsius days, and it just couldn't handle it. I needed a full refrigerated unit, which I now use. So, and use an external thermostat. If your temperature is fairly moderate and you don't get very hot days in summer, then a wine chiller will work perfectly. Okay, we've got another super chat there, and this is from Dale. Thank you, Dale. He says, thank you for answering my question. Yes, no problems at all. I think that's the one I just talked about, the melty ones. But yeah, thank you for your $5 Canadian. I appreciate it, Dale. Okay. So yes, wine chiller, yes, definitely, and there's Dale's gold star. There, Dale. Lovely. Wine chiller, definitely, if you're in a moderate climate. Okay, Robin says, the best Colby cheese I ever had, and it was called Young Colby. Heard it's also called green cheese. Following your video for making Colby, how long should it cure to be young? I would say 2 to 3 months is a fairly young Colby. Very mild, very nice. It does taste nice. Anything over 3 months, it starts to mature a lot better, get sharper. Even though Colby's a washed curd cheese, it doesn't really get too sharp because there's not very much acid in the cheese. But you can age Colby um, fairly well, and I think an aged Colby, they sell it as Passchendaele Colby. I think they call it Passchendaele. Don't quote me on that. I think I'm right. And that's a variety that's been aged over a year, and it is fairly strong. Not as strong as, say, an aged cheddar. But yeah, very nice nonetheless. Larry from Deep South Texas says, you made my day too. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Mark says, can you make a washed-rind cheddar cheese with bacteria linens? You can do anything. Yeah, you can follow the cheddar recipe, add a bit of bevy bacteria linens, wash the rind, and it won't be cheddar anymore. It'll be something different that you've invented yourself. So go for it, Mark. Cheese making has so many variables, it's not funny. So, yeah. Okay. Demora says, what cheese would you say is easiest for beginner? Well, Kim's put a few links there for you, Demora, already. Ricotta. There's a whole milk ricotta recipe too, which is very easy. Paneer is very easy. Then I'd try, say, halloumi. Move on to, say, feta, which is fairly easy as well. What else after that? And then just move on to semi-hard cheese, maybe like Kasseri, which is fairly easy as well. And then any other cheese you choose, you'll be a master at because you've had a little bit of experience. Some people do jump into the deep end, sink or swim, basically, where they make, say, camembert as their first cheese and wonder why it doesn't go right, and get upset and basically then stop making cheese. You really shouldn't tackle. It's like, what's a good analogy? It's like instead of trying to learn to drive a car, you try to learn how to drive a Saturn V rocket instead. You're not going to be successful whatsoever. Anyway, but thanks, Kim, for those 2 links. They were answers to questions, obviously. Mark says, have I ever made washed-rind cheese called Epois? I think that's how you say it. Epois is my bad pronunciation. No, I haven't. I do have a recipe for it. It's very, very stinky cheese. I don't think Kim would allow it in the cheese fridge. So maybe there'll be a video on it. I have written it down before, so I don't need to write it down. So yeah, it is a very stinky. I think it's actually banned on buses in France. That's how stinky it is. Edward says, hi, or any sheep's milk cheese coming in the future? I actually did a couple quite a while back, Edward, when I had some sheep's milk available. I made traditional feta, so that's 70% sheep's milk and 30% goat's milk. So that turned out amazing. That had the most amazing flavour. Also, I made a pecorino romano from raw sheep's milk, and that was absolutely mind-blowing. I've still got some of that left. I treasure that cheese. It is one of my very special cheeses. It's just, the flavour is outstanding. There are 2 that I've made. Manchego I've made as well, which comes from sheep's milk. Manchego sheep in Spain. I made a Franken cheese version where I used cow's milk with lipase, but you can follow that recipe, no problems at all. The Manchego recipe. and use sheep's milk with that. So there's a couple of options from the work I've done already. Okay, David says, I followed your feta recipe and it turned out great. However, a couple of days in the brine solution, you described it started to get slippery. How do I keep it? There's the old slippery brine problem. Right, make sure that you've got some calcium chloride in the brine and you've got some vinegar in the brine. If you follow the brine video, how to make brine, you'll need to make a 10% brine. So I think, let me think, where did I put that? Which video? I think if you look at the real feta video, the one where I use sheep's milk and goat's milk, I think I put the 10% brine solution to store it in with the proper instructions and everything there. Yeah, so, or what you could do is use my proper brine video, which hopefully Kim's looking for right now, and put the link up in a minute. Then just halve the salt, and then you'll get about a 10% brine solution. XPFC Wintergreen says, aloha to all curd nerds throughout the world. Thanks as always to Gavin and Kim for the cultural experience. Thanks, mate. Jordan said, I made my first real cheese, a Cotswold, after the final press of 24 hours. It already seemed to be touch dry. Should I dry it longer, or should I gain ahead and vac pack and place in the cheese cave? Yeah, Jordan, if it feels like it's touch dry after it's come out of the press, then obviously it's fine. Maybe 24 hours, that would be fine. Which you've said there, 24 hours of touch dry, no problems at all. If it's not weeping and if the surface is dry to touch, or it feels touch dry and you don't get any moisture on your fingers, then go for it. It's ready to vac pack. No more moisture should come out in the vac packing. So having said that, then I've actually had to leave cheeses to air dry for up to 5 days. It all depends on how hard I've pressed it, whether I've misjudged the pressing or something like that. But definitely make sure that it stops seeping any whey or moisture, and the surface of the rind is touch dry before you vacuum pack or wax it, or you'll end up with a bag full of moisture, or wax will just be swimming in whey, and that's no good for anybody. And that actually creates, if it sits there swimming in its own way, it actually creates a very dry and crumbly cheese. Now, if you want that, that's great, but most of the time you don't. So make sure it's touch dry. Lark says, thanks for the advice on the brine solution to save my cacciota. No problems at all. Becca, hello Gavin. Hello Becca. Joe says, hello Gavin. Love your videos from the UK. Thank you so much, Joe. Thomas the Tank Engine. Tank Engine. 75 says, hi, g'day Tank. Kevin, you can get the curd harps from Glengarry Cheese for 35 Canadian. If you're in Canada. Yep, definitely. Thanks, Kevin. Lucas says, hi, from Canada, Gavin. Do you ever have poutine in Australia? It's not massive. There was a bit of a poutine craze for a little while, a year or so back. I actually made poutine. I don't know if it was right. All the Canadians flame me, so take it for what it's worth. Squeaky cheese curds is what I called the video, and Kim's already put that link, which is cool. Thank you very much, honey. Look, it tasted great. Our chips are probably different than your chips, as in the chips you put the curd and the gravy on. I think I used the wrong gravy. It was too thick, or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it tasted nice. I enjoyed it. We all enjoyed it. It was very good. Cell says, how difficult is it to make Gorgonzola? There are some steps. It's definitely not a beginner's cheese. It's not an intermediate cheese. I would say it's probably in the advanced cheeses. If you've got a few cheeses on your belt, then you could probably give Gorgonzola a go and be successful. It's all about the affinage with blue cheeses. You got to keep on top of them, and you got to watch them like a hawk to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Okay, Matthew says, any plans on making the Spanish cheese called Cabrales? I think Cabrales? think that's right. No, there isn't at the moment, but I will write it down. And as Larry rightfully says in this week's video, just because I write stuff down on my in my book doesn't absolutely mean that you'll see it anytime soon. But I will leave it there for ideas and research. Sir Benjamin says, "Hi Gavin, what other fun hobbies do you have? I'm thinking about keeping bees for honey." Fun hobbies. Let me think. Cheese making's my fun hobby. I also have some chickens that I love dearly. They're called Dora the Explorer and Frady Cat. So your Dora the Explorer is the one that goes everywhere throughout the whole garden when we let them out on weekends. And Frady Cat's the one that stays in a cage. But yes, we've got a couple of chooks. We used to have up to 8 chickens around on, we had a chook house called Cluckingham Palace. That is now abandoned and will soon be demolished for a new business venture that is very exciting, and I'll share that on the channel as we go through the process. Because I'm turning that into not only a workshop to teach people cheese making and candle making and bath bombs and all the stuff that we do at Little Green Workshops, but also it will be my YouTube studio for filming videos. Hopefully, if I can get it all set up, it'll have lights that are permanently fixed and all that sort of stuff. So I'm hoping that's what's going to turn out. David, Kim left the link. Thank you, Kim. David says, by the way, cheese suggestions to make, I can't pronounce this Maltese cheese, Gebnet, I think, and Burrata. Great suggestions. I will write them down because I've got a friend called Charlie. I don't know if he's on the chat today, who makes the most wicked peppered Gebnet. I think that's how you say it. I can't pronounce it. Sorry. And he has shared the recipe with me once. I've lost it in my pile of paperwork. But I'm sure a simple YouTube search will find that. And Burrata, definitely, I'll put that on my list. It's always a good cheese. Tastes amazing if you get it right. I'll have to make some traditional mozzarella to make the Burrata, though, which there is a video on somewhere. Jay says, great, we will try again. So patience is the key, definitely, Jay. Tank Engine says, what is my favourite cheese? All the cheeses are my favourite cheese. I have no favourite. I love them all, even American cheese. Okay, Patricia says, can you recommend pressed cheeses that are ready in 4 weeks or less? Pressed cheese. Okay. Kasseri, 3 weeks. Ooh, that's about it. Havarti, 6 weeks. Bit over the 4 weeks. Definitely Kasseri. Try that. Queso Fresco, nice pressed cheese. Very fresh. You can use it the same day. There's a couple. Halloumi. That's not really pressed, but it tastes amazing. They're ready the same day kind of thing. So, yeah, give them a go. Oh, you comfortable, Holly? Nice to see you relaxed in the session. Thanks. All right. Yeah, Patricia, try those cheeses, mate. Henry says, Grand Programmer, which I think means good show in Spanish. I think that means good. Let me just Google translate that. Where are you, Google Translate? Felicitations, maybe that's it. It means congratulations. Thank you very much, Henry. Appreciate it, mate. Fallon, I think that's how you say it. Hi, Gavin. I made halloumi on the weekend and I struggled to keep my stock pot at a constant 45 degrees for the 40 minutes. Do you have some tips on how to best do this? Thanks. Yeah, just double boil is probably the best way to do it. There's also a handy little device that you can buy called a sous vide, which heats water and keeps it at a constant temperature. So you can have a double boil, or you can put your pot in the sink, put a bit of water in the sink, put your sous vide wand in there, set it at 45 degrees. It'll stay constant for the whole 40 minutes. No problems at all. They're cool. Ocu Furco says, translation for Henry, great program, congratulations. I figured it out. Thank you very much. Tank Engine says, sorry, but bye. Okay, thanks. No problems, Tank Engine. Paul, yep, I've answered that. Kevin says, hi, Gavin. G'day, Kevin. Tank Engine says he's back. Thank you very much. Theloan Davies says, hey, Gavin, just wanted to say that the wife and I have watched you for a long time and I love your videos. You're a legend. Please say something to us to make my wife Jessica smile. Theloan and Jessica, congratulations on being very dedicated curd nerds. I appreciate that you watch the videos and that you enjoy them. That's one of the reasons I do it. But yeah, I'm not sure where you come from, but enjoy cheese making when you do it. Okay. Aga says, hey Gavin, the whole cheese vegan thing qualifies for lab work, so maybe I can get away with it if I just do it in the lab. Yeah, I heard, Aga, that you've been banned from the kitchen due to some smelly cheese or something. So, yeah, bit of a problem. Aga says there's always a solution. Yes, definitely. Menta Finale says, hi from Atlanta. I assume that's in Georgia. Jabba Synth says, have I ever tried Kasseri Marzu? Second time this feed? No. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to make any. But thanks for asking. Adrian's son, hello, Mr. Cheeseman. Hello, Adrian. Aga says, ideally the cheese will set fire to the antique Moroccan mirror. That's no good, mate. Okay. Dale says, any plans on a Burrata video? Yes, I wrote it on my list. There is plans afoot. Theloden Davey says, go on, go. Give my wife Jessica a heads up. You're a celebrity in our house and we love you. I got there. It takes me time. There's a huge list. But hello. Jabba Smith said, when can a Jabba Synth says, where can you get proper milk for cheese making in Australia? Depends on what you define as proper milk. Raw milk is very hard to get. You need to know the farmer. You need to get it from the farmer's gate, which is illegal, by the way, in Australia, which is unfortunate. Most farmers are very, very clean. You can get good pasteurised, unhomogenised milk from local dairies or dairy producers. In Victoria here, I choose Inglenook Dairies, which do a fantastic pasteurised, unhomogenised milk. So that's known as creamline milk in the US. And it sets the best curd other than raw milk, of course. And at a pinch, if you're really desperate, then most of the standardised pasteurised homogenised milk will set a curd. Curd will fracture. Make sure you use calcium chloride, and it will help the curd to set a lot better than not using it. So there's some definitions for you. There's actually a milk video somewhere, on the best milk to buy in the supermarket and what not to buy. So if Kim can find the link, if she hasn't already, then please put that up around the best milk to use. Jess at the disco says, hi, Illy. Yep, righto. Maksud says, processed cheese protein calculation. How can we do manually by the formulation? I think you mean how do we do processed cheese and what's the calculation? All will be revealed in the sodium citrate video. Kristen says, hi, Gavin. Have you ever heard of and or considered making Cornish yarg? I think Carg or Cornish kern cheese. Carg, yarg, I think it's yarg. Cornish yarg is made by one dairy in the world, and they wrap their cheese in nettle leaves that are picked locally. They also use raw milk. which has the bacteria that is native to the area. Also, they have never put up their recipe, and I wouldn't expect them to. It's a trade secret, probably. And all of the cheese making books that I have, I cannot find a recipe for Cornish yarg. So I have considered it. And as for Cornish kern, I haven't seen any recipes for that as well. And it was a request from years back. I did some research on the yarg, so no, unfortunately not. Newf Dog says, hi, Gavin and Kim. Hello, Newf Dog. Kristen says, Cornish yarg. Yes, that's correct. I just talked about that. Kevin, hi, Kim. Hi, Kevin. Oh, hello. They're all chatting to each other. It's all happening here. Kevin says, you mentioned that it is difficult to get sheep's milk, but Australia has gazillions of sheep. Yeah, they're all the breed for wool, not for milking. So, unfortunately, it is difficult to get, unless you've got purpose-bred milking sheep, then all you'll get in Australia is merinos, which are a Spanish, I think they're a Spanish breed that were brought over in the early days of Australia's settlement. And that's all they have. There is actually a great guy up in, where is it? In the Riverina area of New South Wales. For the likes of me, I've forgotten his name. He runs a place called, oh, it's not working for me today. Arcadia Saltbush Lamb. There you go. I remember it. And he's actually milking some merino sheep when they're in the right cycle. So, yeah, but it's not a normal thing. It's not a normal thing, unfortunately. And Kevin says that's New Zealand, Kevin. That's correct. We have more sheep than New Zealand. Don't know if that's still the same, but there are a lot of sheep in New Zealand as well. Skunk nipples. That's unusual. This might be a dumb question, but in the Borson with Herbs video, you use non-chlorinated water. Is that the same as demineralized water? Yes, but it's not distilled water. Distilled water is the purest form of water. It's made by evaporation. I just use a filtered water that has no chlorine, no fluoride, and I use that for all my cheese making. And Kevin then says, skunk, the chlorinated water is a problem in countries where the weather is hot most of the time, so maybe you need to do this. So look, and the chlorine is killing the bacteria. It does. It actually also inhibits the rennet action. If you use chlorinated water when you mix the rennet, dilute the rennet, it actually inhibits the rennet action and doesn't set a proper curd as well. That's one of the other issues when using chlorinated water, because chlorine kills bacteria. Okay, and enzymes as well. Sorry, that's in the thing. Graham Strong. Kim just said, thank you, Kim. She's snuck into my room. So Graham Strong from Arcadia Saltbush Lamb. Sorry, Graham, and you did provide me with some lovely sheep's milk. Daniel says, hi, Gavin. I find cheese making so relaxing. Made loads till now. Friends love them, and they ask me when I make more. I made a truffle and wild garlic. Keep up the good work. You are an inspiration. Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate it, mate. Craig says it's pronounced Gibanid. Is how to pronounce the Maltese cheese. Oh, there you go. I'm going to write that down, Craig, because if I make it, I'm going to inevitably get it wrong. Gibanid. There we go. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it, mate. Sam says, thoughts on Wensleydale? It's a nice cheese. Wallace and Gromit like it. I made some last week. Well, a couple of weeks back. It's in the cheese cave. It tastes lovely. There you go. There's my thoughts. Kristen says, lol. Thanks, Kristen. CC. Hi, Gavin. Hi, CC. Dylan, I've currently got an experimental cheese in the fridge. A Kasseri recipe with added white mold. Should be interested when ready. Indeed it will. It probably won't taste much like Kasseri. Phil says, hi, Gavin from Indiana, USA. I'm making your Leicester recipe whilst making the stream. Thanks for all the amazing content. Congratulations on you making your Leicester there, Phil. Now, don't forget that if you want to make it red Leicester, I don't know if you've got to pass this stage yet. add more annatto. I think when I made Leicester, I didn't put very much in, and it didn't make red Leicester. Red Leicester is really, really orange. I think it needs like about 42 drops of annatto to get it to that colour, but it's all pretty cool. Okay, we are running out of time. I've got 5 minutes left. New Dog says, I need to hit the lottery to buy all the ingredients and moulds. Yeah, look, for most of the soft cheeses, you can pick up the ingredients in your supermarket. It's not that bad. Don't not make cheese just because you haven't got all the special cultures and the molds and stuff. You can make your own molds out of plastic, into food-safe plastic containers. You can, for goodness, you can make halloumi with just rennet, and that's easy enough to buy. You don't need any cultures at all. So, don't let the cultures that I use and all that sort of stuff go for the easier cheeses that don't need all those ingredients, and you'll be pleasantly surprised that you can get away and enjoy cheese that doesn't need long maturation times and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, give that a go. Ruth, thanks for the link there for the best cow's milk to use. Thanks, Kim. Ruth says, if you use low temperature long hold method with raw milk, do you add starter cultures or not? Ruth, two schools of thought on that one. Sometimes the lactic bacteria is preserved. I would add the starter culture just to give it a kick on. You may find that the native lactic bacteria have died off using the low temperature long hold method. But it does increase the flavour of the cheese, definitely, than normal pasteurised milk, which is normally pasteurised at 72 or 75 Celsius, can't remember, for about 15 seconds. So it's definitely the best way to pasteurise if you can, if you get your hands on raw milk. Patricia says, I may have my first disaster in the cheese cave, a Havarti. During curd washing, the temperature went up to 50. Have I murdered the meso culture? What should I expect? It stinks. Yes, you would have murdered the mesophilic culture. It usually dies off at about 42 Celsius. It would convert into an enzyme and produce all sorts of reactions within the cheese. So it'll go through proteolysis and lipolysis, which will break down the fats and proteins quicker than it normally would. Yeah, if it stinks, hey, go with it. See what happens. I dare say it'll probably turn into an amazing cheese. It'll be a lot firmer than what a Havarti normally is because of that higher cooking temperature. Okay, Kim's giving me the wind-up. Looks like I've finished. Do I have any more questions? I can't remember a freaking thing. Yes, I do have that syndrome sometimes. That's the end. Sorry, no more questions. Thank you, as always, for watching. I appreciate your time. Without your questions, there wouldn't be a show every week. One final look at Holly. Yes, she's asleep, having a good time. But if you want to buy any of the supplies, kits, ingredients, all that sort of stuff, pop over to the link there for littlegreenworkshops.com.au. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can through that link that Kim's put up. Also, YouTube members, and we had a new member today, which was fantastic. And if you want to buy any merch, I think there's merch. There's a merch shelf underneath the video that you can check out. If not, pop over to teespring.com/store/CheesemanTV. Thanks for a fantastic show. I really appreciate it. And Curd Nerds, we will see you next time. But watch out for the American cheese video that'll be released in 2 days' time. And then 2 days after that will be the sodium citrate, a little bit more detailed video. Some of the footage is the same, but don't worry about that. I've actually got lots more information about what to use this lovely compound for in cheese making, and amazing saving graces for some cheese failures that you may or may not have. Anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and I will see you next time, as always. Same bat channel, same cheese station, all that stuff. All very cool. Bye-bye.